Telegeography is a market research and consulting firm. We provide in-depth market analysis, forecasting, benchmarking services, particularly in the areas of international networks, undersea cables, international internet networks, and enterprise services such as IP VPN, Ethernet services, service pricing, and with a little bit of international voice thrown in. We specialize in conducting in-depth primary research, compiling large data sets that we present in online reports and databases, as well as doing customized research for our customers. Telegeography is also the founder of the WAN Summit. This is a conference that covers enterprise WAN services that takes place 3 times a year. This really depends on the segment, of course. Globally, we see focus has been shifting away from traditional international wholesale markets of capacity, IP transit, and voice as the prices erode, profits thin, and revenues flatten. But in certain regions and emerging markets, such as in Africa, parts of Asia, the Middle East, we're still seeing growth, as well as some new region-specific providers popping up. In Africa, for example, we're seeing growth in, of course, internet access as more international capacity becomes available to them. So there's a much larger customer base, and we're starting to see growth in enterprise services by some new providers, or providers that have traditionally focused on the wholesale market, but then have moved to enterprise market. So this, of course, is due to the arrival of loads of international bandwidth with the recent landing of submarine cables in Africa over the last 6 years or so. And so wholesale capacity prices have been dropping quickly, and ISPs have been beginning to expand their services to enterprise market, offering Ethernet and VPN services as their networks become more reliable. In terms of protection against submarine cable faults, route diversity is a very important consideration for major consumers of submarine cable capacity, and is a key to limiting network outages and poor network performance due to these faults. The most common cause for cable breaks, contrary to popular media accounts, is not shark bites and Russian subs, but something much more mundane. The vast majority of cable breaks due to ship anchors, trawler nets, and occasionally earthquakes. Large consumers, such as financial institutions, banks, tend to purchase bandwidth on multiple cable systems to create a mesh network to provide a higher level of network availability, resiliency, and reliability. Now, taking Africa as a counterexample, what happens with the lack of route diversity? This is a big problem in Africa in the past. Before 2009, only 10 countries in Africa had access to international bandwidth via submarine cable landings or submarine cables. And in most of these countries, they usually just had one cable landing in the country. So basically, lack of route diversity. If that cable broke, the internet went down for the entire country. And with the recent boom of subcable construction in Africa, or to Africa, there are now 33 countries with access to international capacity via the subcables, but still only 7 of these countries have access to 3 or more cables. So there are still many with only 1 or 2. So in these cases, once again, it's a lack of route diversity. One cable goes down, outages, or at least it hinders performance, network performance. So there's room to grow, maybe a few more cables going in. But now, actually, as availability of route diversity is increasing in Africa, the reliability of networks is increasing as well. We're seeing an increase of internet users and a host of new enterprise services being offered by ISPs over the increased bandwidth, but also the increasingly better performing networks.